Good morning. It's President Charity Colleen Crouse. I'm speaking to you from Fort America today. It is September 1st, 2000, I'm sorry, September 2nd, 2023, 9:12 a.m. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. First of all, I want you to know that here at Fort America, we're very into water conservation. As a result, then our considerations of hygiene and our considerations of things that other people might take for granted on a daily basis are a little different. I'm happy that I actually washed my hair for the first time in a long time, and I'm enjoying it the way it's supposed to be. I just wanted to go ahead and acknowledge that. Something happened the other day. I happened to see a video that was created by a band I wasn't very familiar with previously. Something I've been thinking about. They approached the topic of something I've been thinking about. Perhaps you might have heard that under the administration of President Donald Trump, though the fact that he was the legitimate president may be disputed by some, and for at least 4 years, the United States of America did acknowledge Donald Trump as president, including by subjecting him to 3 different impeachment processes, which, so far as I understand, he would not have been eligible for impeachment if he wasn't acknowledged as the president. But in the course of that, First Lady Melania Trump had engaged a process where she created, or she was a part of something that was supposed to be a project to counter cyberbullying. I believe it was called Be Best, a program called Be Best. Now, I remember when I heard about it first in 2018, it was something that was a bit concerning to me. I believe she should have gotten more support, and I have another video on my YouTube channel talking about that very specifically. Not so ironically, when I saw this video, even if the people that are in the band may not believe themselves to be directly connected to that effort or supported it themselves, that I think it did a good job in communicating a message that might have resonated with certain people in a way that other messages may not have, including somebody who came from an environment like me. So it just so happened I found that video the same day I found something that I've been looking for without knowing it since I was a very little child, since I was in third, fourth grade. At one point in time, I had asked my father, I said, Dad, I want to get to know about classical music. My dad said, well, I don't really know much. So he went and he asked somebody he worked with. And this guy said, tell her to try Brahms. And after that, my dad went and he bought me a 4-album set. I had a record player. He bought me a 4-album set. I remember it very specifically because all four of the original composers had been conducted by the same conductor. So it was a 4-album set of that conductor doing those 4 composers: Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. And I remember listening to that Brahms album being like, I'm not really into Brahms, but I like some of this other stuff. That was very shortly before I ended up being exposed to heavy metal. My relationship to heavy metal came in the context of the build-up to the first Gulf War, and in a context where I was being bullied. I was being bullied with the fact that at the time I had started to get really bad acne. People started bullying me, including on the bus and in the efforts to try to go to school. Usually the bullies were wearing these heavy metal T-shirts. And one time I figured, well, what are those shirts? I asked the guy about his shirt while he was trying to bully me. Kind of stopped. I said, can you give me one of the records to listen to? And they gave me 2 tapes. They gave me 2 cassette tapes. One of them was Persistence of Time by Anthrax, and one of them, actually, the first one was Surf Nicaragua by, can't remember the name, Sacred Reich, and Master of Puppets by Metallica. They gave me 2 albums. They gave me Surf Nicaragua by Sacred Reich and Master of Puppets by Metallica. I took it home. I read the liner notes. I listened to the tapes. I went back and started talking to them. It totally changed my relationship with them. But it also changed my relationship with music, including the context within which I was interested in classical music concurrent to heavy metal. I don't think these things are unrelated. And my relationship with heavy metal actually came as an effort to keep people from bullying me. And if you listen to some of the lyrics, you read some of the lyrics, even if the bullies read some of the lyrics, they may actually get a different understanding of themselves and their relationship to that kind of music. You know, a lot of times these days, if it's not in my head, sometimes it's out loud. I kind of sound like I should be a front person for a heavy metal band, right? Now, some might say, oh, that's not the way we want our president to act. It's not the way we want our senator to act. It's not the way we want our mom to act, right? And then again, maybe it is. Maybe sometimes it's what you need. I'm contacting you today because I'm going to do a couple of things today. Not only do I want to support you if you're being bullied, but I want to be able to support you if you're being sex terrorized. At some point, some people came up with some decision that they wanted to start playing fast and loose with protecting people against sexual exploitation. I'm not just talking about peer pressure to maybe have sex when you're not really certain you want to go all the way. I'm talking about people that want to talk to you about how you can make money having sex with somebody, including somebody a lot older than you, including somebody that might have a say about whether or not you get into school, whether or not you get a job, or they've taken things that are already yours and said you can't have them back unless you have sex with them. I'm talking about people who may be pressuring you because they're saying weird stuff about how they know about things you were thinking about, fantasizing about. Maybe even when you were alone with yourself, doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. There's some expectation they're putting on you, and you have to do something sexual in order to get things you are already entitled to. I want to support you. Not just because saying no has merit, but because when the time is right for you, you should be able to say yes without anybody else thinking they can tag along, right? Or they can put some sort of indicator on it for themselves. Or for people to try to politically persecute you because they don't like who you're attracted to or who you want to have a relationship with, whether it's somebody from a different race, somebody from a different religion, somebody from a different political perspective. Somebody that may be age appropriate, but somebody's already told you, well, we need you to go do this for that person because we already promised them something, right? I want to be as supportive of you as possible. This isn't about paying. This isn't about you being somebody's stock and they get to waive a fee or a filing of a file off onto you. It's not you having to pay somebody else's taxes because they want to say that because you got some need and you need resources from somebody else, you got to pay for those resources, especially if they say it's a nonprofit and even if they say it's a religious-based nonprofit. Whatever you do in your spiritual pursuits, whatever you do with consent, insofar as it comports itself within the law, is something you should be protected in doing. And there's lots of court cases going back over 100 years, not just in the United States, that protect your right to make these decisions. I'm not talking about abortion, and I'm not talking about birth control. Not yet, right? At this point, what I'm talking about is you being able to be safe in making decisions for yourself without somebody saying that you got to prove something, right? Is you got to perform in order to show them you mean it. And that if you say no to anybody at any time, that you know what you're talking about, and they have to hear it, and they have to follow through on it. Other than that, there's a lot that we have to enjoy. I'm going to be doing some things this weekend. Some people, this is called Labor Day, but something happened in 2009. I met somebody, and I ended up having a conversation with him, not about Labor Day. It was about another holiday. I called him to wish him a happy Cinco de Mayo. And he's kind of like, you understand, this isn't our holiday. No, I didn't. I was kind of ignorant at the point. He kind of gave me some information. I figured it out. In some ways, Labor Day is the same. See, the way I understand it is Labor Day is not supposed to be happening in September. The spirit of Labor Day is supposed to be happening earlier in the year. It's connected to the harvest season. And you go, you understand what you have to work with. You know what seeds you have because you've retained them from the year before. You know who and where you're going to be working with in order to plant, in order to begin the cultivation. And you want to let them know, okay, now we know what we got to work with. Let's set the terms. Let's set the terms, and then as the summer comes along, while we're working, and as things are producing, then we'll do what we need to do with them. So when the fall comes along, and the harvest comes in, and then we got to make preparations for the winter, everybody's provided for. Everybody's got the food they needed. We did the canning. We did the salting. If we got freezers, we put stuff away for the freezers. If we got some autumn crops coming along, we made sure to plant them. We made sure to take care of the people who are going to be doing that. And it's supposed to happen earlier. In some cases, some would say that it's not about Labor Day, it's about May Day. There's a lot of reasons for that. And so waiting until the end of the year to say, well, now we get a day off to celebrate our workers' rights and we can barbecue and drink beer, that's not what it's about. But at the same time, I want to be supportive as much as possible. And despite all that's happened, there's actually quite a substantial harvest, and it's meant for the people, including the young people. Even if you're not old enough to vote, I'm going to say this very formally. If you're under 25, there are certain things you are not responsible for, and nobody's allowed to tell you you are. Even if they told them when they were under 25 they were responsible. I believe this is a matter of political principle. If you're not old enough to run for public office, there are certain things people who are 25 years old and older are responsible for that you should not be responsible for. But that's not an excuse to go out and create a lot of crime and screw around and set a lot of other people up for a bad situation, including yourself. I'm 46 now. I'm not doing what I was doing at 26. I'm not doing what I was doing at 16 either, right? But whatever age you are, I support you. And so I'm going to be making a couple of movies around here, demonstrating a couple of things that have come about in the last year and 9 months since Ford America started getting going. And for the record, nobody else has been back here but me, for a reason. I'm hoping that may potentially be able to change. But for the record, guys, I'm 100% drug-free. I support you in being 100% drug-free. And by the way, that includes drugs, as somebody wants to say, is medication because you're sick or because you're disabled. Okay? So anyway, have a good day, and I'll be talking to you more later.